afternoon, everyone. It's 12:15, and I want to be a good steward of everyone's time. We have a very packed lunch program for you, and incorporated within this will be our annual meeting as well. So on behalf of the ILNAHRO Board of Directors, I want to officially welcome you to ILNAHRO's 2014 Annual Conference, The Measure of Tomorrow. We have some excellent workshops and workshop presenters lined up over the course of this next day and a half. Have you enjoyed this conference so far, the workshop session? Okay, yeah, let's give our presenters a hand already. And a special thank you to the presenters who will be presenting on tomorrow as well. We want to, of course, encourage you to take full advantage of our intimate setting that we have here on these next few days, the networking opportunities, the opportunity to speak with HUD officials, and just the opportunity to speak with your peers as we learn from each other. And let me pause to extend, of course, a special thank you to our conference sponsors who are listed in the back of your program booklet and on your tables, as well as at the registration table. Our bronze sponsor was Hurst Roche Engineers Incorporated. Our Friend of Illinois sponsors was Harold O'Shea Builders and Windsor Homes. And our general sponsor was Novanis IT Solutions. So please join me in extending them a round of applause. Their sponsorship has certainly been very instrumental in ensuring that this conference was able to move forward. And although affordable housing providers are facing some tough times, to say the least, we've continued with great resolve just to ensure that the families that we serve do not go neglected, that we continue to provide quality service. It's important, though, as housing authorities, that we continue to advocate on behalf of the most vulnerable populations who count on us to do what it is that we do. And that we continue to join forces in advocating for public policy that furthers the mission of building strong communities by bridging affordable housing gaps. So let me close by saying, again, thanks to each of you for investing your time, for investing your resources, for being at the conference. We are so glad that you are here. We are adding something new as a dimension of our ILNAHRO conference this year. We have our poster contest winners from the state of Illinois who are our guests of honor on today, and they're seated in front of the podium. Can we please give them a round? And so it is with great pleasure that I welcome to the podium to provide words of welcome to our great city, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Springfield, J. Michael Houston.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Are you enjoying our beautiful fall-like weather? Now, I walked over here, and believe me, it feels like fall outside. But I want to tell you, we are really excited about having you here in the city of Springfield. And it is my pleasure to welcome you to the capital of Illinois as well as to your conference. You know, as you think about Springfield, we're really not too much different than cities up and down this state. And one of the things that we face here, as well as other communities across this state, are really the challenges that we're dealing with in redevelopment and housing. And Jackie mentioned the importance of affordable housing. Affordable housing is something that is needed in our community, and it is needed all across this state. Municipal officials are putting their faith and trust in you to find solutions to the many and various problems. When I saw the theme of this year's conference, that it was the measure of tomorrow, I felt that phrase could not be more appropriate. By measuring tomorrow, you bring yourselves together to share views and experiences, foster collaboration of all professionals, experts, and scholars working in the housing industry. In fact, We are relying on your guidance, a forecast, a plan, and most importantly, implementation strategies that will address the measure of tomorrow. Springfield provides a wonderful background for a meeting of this kind to take place. With our rich history and the spiritual and cultural legacy left by Abraham Lincoln, the atmosphere here is one of educational inclusion and scientific advancement. Springfield's cultural and ethnic history includes wonderful sightseeing and entertainment opportunities for everyone. I hope that you will have a very productive meeting and that you take the opportunity, even though the weather's not very nice today, to get out of the hotel and see some of the things that our community has to offer. There is something about Abraham Lincoln that draws people from all over the world. Whether you realize it or not, Mr. Lincoln, next to Jesus Christ, is the most studied man in the history of the world. Only Jesus Christ has more pages written about him than Abraham Lincoln. And while it's not very nice today, within 2 blocks south of this hotel, we have Lincoln's home, which is the only home that Mr. Lincoln ever owned. It's part of a 4-square-block national park. If you walk 1 block to the west, we have the restored Old State Capitol. And when you look at that building, I want you to think about something. Between 1966 and 1970, that building was taken down block by block. The blocks were numbered. They built a 3-story office building and a 2-story garage underneath the Old State Capitol, and then put it back together. And when you look at that building, think about the year 1858, and remember that that was the site of the famous House Divided speech. If you think about 1865, I want you to think about walking into that building, walking up the staircase to that 2nd floor House of Representatives, and think about the fact that more than 75,000 people passed by Mr. Lincoln's body while it laid in state. 1865, the population of the city of Springfield was approximately 6,000 people. Think for a moment of what travel was like. Think for a moment that Mr. Lincoln's funeral covered 10 cities as it came to Springfield, Illinois. And then think about 75,000 people passing his casket. Think about the honor and respect that people had for Mr. Lincoln and what he had done. You know, just within 2 blocks of this hotel, we have the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, which is literally the crown jewel of all presidential museums in this country. One of the things I have on my bucket list is to visit every presidential museum and library in the country. And when you visit them, there's something about Mr. Lincoln's that's a little different than anyone else's. You know, if you go to California and visit President Reagan's Presidential Library and Museum, one of the neat things they have out there is an Air Force One. If you go down to Little Rock and visit President Clinton's Presidential Library and Museum, one of the things that is down there is he has his limousine from when he was president. And when you go through presidential libraries and museums, what you have a tendency to do is see a lot of papers, a lot of mementos. The difference between going to those other presidential libraries and going to this presidential library is that when you walk out of the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum, you have some feeling of who Mr. Lincoln was, what his principles were, and what his values were. And it was those principles and values that literally led him to become the greatest president in the history of our country. Within 2 miles of this hotel, we have Oak Ridge Cemetery. It is the 2nd most visited cemetery in the entire country, where Mr. Lincoln's tomb is located. Within that cemetery, we also have a veteran section, where we have the World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam memorials. And it is really something that you should visit, both his tomb as well as that veteran section. I know with the weather and your time, you don't have time during this visit, but one of the neat things that we really have here is something called New Salem Village. It's 20 miles west of Springfield. And when you go there, you literally walk into an authentic working community of Mr. Lincoln's time during the 1830s. It is well worth the trip. Tomorrow, the Illinois State Fair kicks off. Hopefully the weather will be much better than it is today. The weekend, though, is really got a great forecast temperature-wise. At 6 o'clock tonight, at the corner of 9th and North Grand, they will kick off the Illinois State Fairgrounds, a parade to the Illinois State Fairgrounds. When you finish your activities here, if the weather is permitting, you might think about making your way out to the State Fairgrounds. It will be a fun time out there this evening. I hope that you enjoy our city's atmosphere, because we think that it will provide you with the inspiration for you to take seriously the difficult task before you, and also inspire your creativity to develop ideas for measuring the future. It is also a great pleasure to be able to welcome Antonio Riley, HUD's Midwest Regional Administrator, to Springfield. I share Mr. Riley's sentiment in terms of implementing housing and economic strategies and looking at that as just one part of an overall team effort to put residents back to work and to stabilize our communities. Springfield is very pleased right now that we have the lowest unemployment rate in the state at 6%. But we know that we can even lower that number if we can blend the right economic and housing strategies. Mr. Riley, I look forward to your address because of your background as and professional experience of capturing relationships between housing and economic development to create jobs, making home ownership more affordable, renewing and invigorating depressed neighborhoods, and creating greater opportunities for minority-owned businesses. All strategies that my administration is hard at work presently trying to accomplish. Again, it is my pleasure to welcome you to Mr. Lincoln's hometown. Enjoy the conference. Take full advantage of this to really learn, to be able to take what you learn here back to your individual communities and then put those things to work. And remember one thing, you're all on expense accounts. Spend a lot of money, help our local economy. Thank you.